Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another AvidMax Fly Tying Tuesdays. I'm Brady back with you, and we're going to tie a hot wire Prince. This is a cool little fly. It's sort of a hybrid of the all-time greats Copper John and Prince Nymph. So we'll go ahead and get started on it. The hook we're going to be using here is the Tiemco 5262. It's an excellent little nymph hook. 2x long shank, which caters nicely to this pattern. And then we have a gold tungsten bead. This is a size 7/64 on our 14 hook today. Start our thread out. This is just some UTC 70 denier in black. And we're going to take that all the way back to the bend to where our tails are going to be set. And we want just nice, flat, even thread wraps all the way through there. So the tails on this, just like both the Copper John and the Prince Nymph, is going to be our brown goose buyouts. Grab a couple of those and marry them together with our concaves facing outward and our tips aligned here. And then we can figure out our length. So we're going to do just shy the total shank. Go ahead and put those into position. We'll do a couple of loose wraps here. Grab them and make sure that they're where you want them. And then you can, with the tight pinch, really snug them in place and do some locking wraps. From there, we'll walk on forward. Always go over the top of the buyouts. They just help add a little bit of bulk to the body. As long as you keep nice, even thread wraps, you can get them to lay down underneath there fairly flat. And up until where that thorax is going to be, and we can clip them short. These ones actually land nicely. We'll clip them down and go all the way on up. It's just nice and clean there all the way to the bead. And start walking on back. And again, just being very deliberate with our wraps here. Gonna go back and then secure in our wire. So for this one, I'm going to use two colors. That's kind of the deal on this hot wire Prince, is it's a married pairing of colors. So we got a hot yellow along with a chartreuse here. This is the brassy size I'm using today on this size 14. So pair those up and go ahead and secure them on the side of the hook shank. And I want them to run the length of the body so that, again, this is just a nice even profile. And lock it down with some threads covering everything. Get into the thorax, and then I am going to walk back one more time, add just a little bit of a taper. So we'll go right past this halfway point and then transition back forward. And we can hang our thread where we're going to end that wire. Throw in a half hitch and wrap it on forward. So we're going to wrap the two of them at the same time. Kind of want to pull on them, get them snugged up together. And that first wrap is always the most challenging. So we want to sort of push it back and just try and get them to marry nicely. Might have to work it a little bit. And then as you go forward, things will be a little bit easier. Just keeping them in line, touching wraps forward. If you had any bumps in your thread, that's where you would see some gaps in your wire as you were going. UTC is great for this because it's so flat. Makes it somewhat easy. And once we get to where our thread's hanging out at the start of that thorax region, we'll capture it off. Walk our thread right over top. And then we can break out that wire, that extra wire. This is a cool color combination because it works well when you have some yellow sallies around. Probably the closest imitation, but also lends itself well as a caddis. A nice chartreuse hue that you get off of this. Next material is the good old peacock herl. Do a couple of those strands. Clip off the tips to get to a little less brittle piece. Although peacock is always nice and brittle. And I always walk back just a little bit over the top of the wire, make sure that that's secure. And then we can advance our thread up to where that bead is. Lay down a little bit of a thread base here. Make things nice and even for that peacock to wrap on top. And half hitch once more. And advance the peacock herl. Leave ourselves just a little bit of room behind the bead to bring in our hackle and our finishing buyouts. After we capture that with some locking wraps, we can bring in that hackle. So this is just an India henback. I'm going to go ahead and try and select a pretty small gauged feather off of this today for the size 14. As you get bigger, and go a little bit bigger. You can use a traditional hackle as well for this, or go CDC if you like. And take that feather, grab it by the tip, pull it all rearward, and we'll tie it in by the tip. Couple of wraps there. Lock down, and then we can wrap it around. We're going to pull all these fibers rearward and do a couple of wraps. Nice and snug, and we'll capture that. And then clip off the extra. Lay down a couple of wraps on top of it, make sure it's all laying flat for us. And then we can add in our final white goose buyouts, the flagship of the Prince Nymph. These I always tie in one at a time, just a little bit easier for me to do them that way. So we'll go right across the top and pretty close to the length of the body on this one. That nice long hackle. So a couple wraps on that. Do the same mirrored. Make sure that we're happy with our lengths. And then I always pull up the butt ends, wrap down in front of them. And you can clip those off nice and close now. And all you gotta do is whip finish it. Really neat, versatile pattern. It's a good heavier weight with all the tungsten stuff out there and lead bodied flies. It's not that heavy anymore, but as far as a classic fly goes, a little bit of the heavier with the wired body Definitely fishes well. Do a lot of different color options and give it a go.